So, hey, congratulations for Triggered.
It's so thank you, man. It's so funny. A lot of us haven't actually seen the final cut of the movie yet, so we've just been hearing from all the press and everybody, how much they're being enjoying it. And but yeah, for most of us, I mean, for myself, I had a reasonably minor sort of role in the movie, so I only sort of saw snippets when I sort of went into ADR and looping. So, did you love the movie? Was it lots of fun? Was it a nice roller coaster ride?
You know what? It's a guilty pleasure. I could tell you that because I just watched it again last night and I didn't have to, so I've already seen the movie twice.
Oh, cool, man.
So I will have to tell you, though, you clean up nicely compared to your character in the film.
It was so funny when Alistair approached me to do the movie. I just flown back to Los Angeles, where I've sort of been based for the past 5 years, and he said to me, we're shooting this movie in Johannesburg. Don't you want to fly back to Johannesburg for a couple of days? And he sent me the script, and it's such a fun script. And when I, after a 36-hour flight, arrived back in South Africa, and in torrential rains, shooting out in the woods, and yeah, that the sort of makeup and costume departments were sort of, okay, cool, we're going to give you a bloodied nose, we're going to like really mess you up, and as if you've really sort of been in a very different world for the last couple of days, couple of weeks. So I do love that. I do love the makeup and the costume, and sort of trying to climb into the madness or whatever of certain characters.
That's amazing because you have years and decades of movies under your belt. So why Triggered? What makes Triggered different from all the other projects that you worked on?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really sort of fortunate. I mean, I've been doing this crazy acting thing since the age of like 12. And I'm starting to get better at it. But I've really, it's very important for me as a South African to be as supportive as I can to a country and an industry that has essentially kept me alive, for the past 2.5, 3 decades. And also to be very, very supportive of indie filmmakers and, aspiring actors and writers and directors. And so when Triggered came along, first of all, I loved the fact that it was an indie feature. I really wanted to work with Alistair. He's really, really sort of shining, up-and-coming South African director. And I'd seen another movie, that he had done, House on Willow Street. And this script, the fact that it was such a, commercial horror thriller movie. I really wanted to be a part of that, even if it was just a small little part of it. And so luckily we were able to get schedules to work. But yeah, I mean, I love the script because, it's always a good sign when you're sitting in bed at night and you've got a drink on your one side or a nice glass of red or whatever on your side, and you're sitting there reading the script, and the next second you're laughing out loud because of some of these, crazy one-liners. So, I love that. I love that about the script that David Jones had written, that had these comedic elements in it that, which I think is so important, especially for this kind of genre of movie. It's important, I think, for an audience to, where a movie doesn't take itself so darn seriously. I love that. It also allows the audience to sort of breathe and just, go along on the roller coaster ride. So it was really just a really fun script.
Yeah, you know what? I could barely tell there was like an indie horror film because the quality was actually very good. Do you do a lot of horror
Awesome.
yourself?
Wow, let me think. I mean, I last year I did a movie called Friedberry, which is also very much horror. And that's busy sort of doing the festival circuit at the moment. And in that, I play this character called Ronald, who's in an insane asylum, and he's also mad in his head and crazy. So yeah, for me, I don't think it's a specific thing of I really want to do horror or I really want to do. I mean, I do love sci-fi. Personally, I'm sort of more drawn to to heavy dramas, I've done a lot of action as well, so I mean, I really enjoy that as well. So horror, besides Fried Barry and Now Triggered, it's actually quite a new genre for me. And I've been watching a lot of horror. I mean, I do, it's wonderful escapism. But my goodness, I really genuinely, honestly take my hat off, especially with Triggered, to the young actors in Triggered and to other, actors who do a lot of horror. Because just the excessive amount of running and screaming and fighting and crying, and it must just be so incredibly draining. It's a very specific genre, and some people are just amazing at it. So for me to tick a couple of boxes that I've now done some horrors, that's cool.
Well, speak of loony characters, let's talk about your character Peterson, because all I could say,
Yeah.
he's not going to be Teacher of the Year.
Somebody was asking me, they were saying, like, what is Peterson's deal? Does he just hate millennials? What does he have against children? Because I think what his opening line is, oh my God, your kids are so annoying, or something like that. And yeah, I mean, each role that I play, what I'm always trying to figure out, who is this character? What makes them tick? And if they are angry, if they're damaged, what is the reason for that? For Peterson's character, he's this guy who was a science school teacher, and his son died of a drug overdose, and then his wife subsequently committed suicide. And ultimately, he blames these kids. He blames these kids for his son's death. So, and also, Alistair, the director, sort of said to me, this character really hasn't seen the light of day. He hasn't seen sunshine in his life for a long time. So when you meet Peterson, he's been setting up this whole thing for months. He's been wanting to get these 7 kids in the woods, get them together, so that he can essentially take revenge. Yes, absolutely. His demented world or strange world, this is completely justified. He blames these kids, and as the story develops, you do sort of get tidbits of information that they are in some way responsible. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult sort of approaching such a heavy character, and a lot of people sort of say to me, but Sean, you're such a friendly, nice guy. Why do you always play these baddies and these psychopaths? Well, because it's acting, and it's escapism for me, and so I love that. But I do love, and I know it sounds very sort of theatrical and corny, but I do love sort of multifaceted characters, and these baddies like Peterson, he doesn't regard himself as a baddie. He's a father whose son has died, his wife has died, and he's lost, and maybe he's suicidal, and he's unhappy. So, for me to sort of take on a character that it's completely justifiable in the character's own mind. But it's always lots of fun.
You know what? I think it's fortunate that your role was brief, because you didn't have to run around in the woods in the rain wearing a vest or any of that.
Yeah, the nature of indie filmmaking. Every movie, irrelevant if you've got a budget of $50,000 or $50 million, there's always going to be time constraints, and they're always sort of trying to get those sort of 12, 14 hours a day, trying to get the scenes, trying to get those minutes in the can. And so, absolutely, when it comes to indie filmmaking, you don't have a 3-4 month shoot. You've maybe got 2-3 weeks. So, I mean, I really think from the bits and pieces that I've seen in the trailers and the snippets, I really think, that Alice and the guys, did an amazing job with the amount of time and the money that they had. But yeah, indie filmmaking and filmmaking in general is really hard. And yeah, I'm really lucky that I didn't have to do too much running, too much running and screaming.
I'm actually surprised. I never been to South Africa myself, but when I think of South Africa, I think of the dry, tall grasses, zebras and lions and everything. I didn't even know you guys had forests like that.
Oh yeah, it's what's I think one of the things that I've been sort of really fortunate with as an actor is that a lot of international TV series and films have been filmed in South Africa, in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, in Durban, or KwaZulu-Natal. And major TV series and films like Black Sails and Deep State and some of The Crown was filmed in South Africa as well. So we have such varied locations, especially KwaZulu-Natal or Durban, where you've just got jungles that sort of go on forever. And then obviously in Cape Town, you've got the beaches and the winelands. And so, yeah, South Africa has doubled for locations all over the world. So yeah, it is pretty. Yeah, people. I completely understand your question. People are sort of expecting, a safari or deserts with lions and elephants. So yeah, it's. I do know that for Alistair, it was cool to sort of be on location in the actual woods, in the forest, and use those elements to to help the story.
Now, when you acted around the so-called kids, and I know they're not really exactly kids; they're all adults themselves.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to actually bond with them, or did you just basically came in just briefly, just for like a 1 or 2 day shoot?
I was lucky that I knew some of the actors beforehand. So myself and Raina, and Liesel and Stephen and Soraya. We've known each other for a couple of years, and Soraya and I actually did a sci-fi movie together a few years ago called Last Broken Darkness. So I had an existing sort of friendship and relationship with some of the actors, and then some of the others were sort of newbies or with sort of minimal experience. Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, if we are all sort of living in the same accommodation, we'll maybe have dinner together or have drinks together and socialize in that sense. But especially when I'm playing a character like this who is sort of removed from your leads, a lot of the time, interestingly enough, a lot of the projects that I've worked on, they will sometimes put me, if I'm going to be playing the baddie or the psychopath, whatever, and that sort of main antagonist or whatever in the story, a lot of the time they will actually accommodate me somewhere else so that I don't have this interaction with the rest of the cast. And crew, so that it's real for them. So this guy just sort of disappears or sort of appears out of nowhere in the woods and makes their lives a living hell. But those relationships, those previous relationships and friendships, do help. Obviously, from a working together point of view, especially on a very, very tight schedule. But my job always is, especially if I'm playing a sort of minor role or I'm coming in to do a little cameo or a smaller role, is really to support those actors and those characters. So what do I need to give them to help their characters' progression, throughout the story? So I know, other actors will sort of say to me, "Oh my God, Sean, you're so generous." But I do feel as a supporting actor on a project, that it is my job to give those actors what they need to get to wherever they need to get to in the scene.
I love it that you're such a great team player. Now, one more thing before I let you go. We're talking to via Zoom right now because of the world. It's kind of unpredictable and crazy. But how are you staying sane and creative during times like this?
It's been it's a really interesting thing. I think it was Lady Gaga who said, everybody's saying, but we're all in the same boat. We're all going in the same sort of journey. And Gaga was saying, well, that's absolutely nonsense. Everybody's going through their own introspective insanity and craziness. So I don't think it's sort of fair to, for others to say we're all in the same boat together. We can all relate. And I think for me as an actor personally, it has been really difficult because, acting is what I love. It's what I've been doing all my life. It's what I'm incredibly passionate about. So not being able to do that, not being able to actually be in front of the camera and be on sets and, that I love so much, that has been hard. But at the same time, what I've been doing, I sort of started my own little sort of YouTube channel where I was sort of, doing acting lessons for aspiring actors. And then I've also been doing script writing and collaborating with other writers and directors and producers. So, which is good. It sort of forces you, if this is what you love and you can't do that, well, then what else can you do? You just have to, whatever your passion is, you have to pursue that. And what's wonderful about the industry is that it is so broad, So yeah, I mean, I've been writing. I've been writing and writing, and it is difficult because you're writing on a script and you're thinking, is this ever going to get made? You know. But yeah, I suppose it's just one of those things, you know, human nature that we just have to, you know, we're survivors. We just have to be positive and we have to be optimistic.
I think that's a great outlook. Well, hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to your next project. Let's do this again.
Cool. Thank you so much for the support, man.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.
Take care, man. Cheers.